What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented as always by Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis. If you are an MSU football fan today, Lord help you, and discover Pure Options if you haven't already. It will help you get through the next months, the weeks, recruiting season, games like Saturday. Whether you're in the stands, like some columnists think you should be, or not in the stands. And also, if you're looking for a time to buy Pure Options, Cyber Monday is a great time to do it. Great deals at pureoptions.com. You can join their Pure Perks loyalty program as well. And if you're starting to think about Christmas gifts, Pure Options, underrated gift. You got to know your audience, but if you know your audience, very, very underrated gift. And our Monday afternoon show, also presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. Great for beachwear in Hawaii. Also great when you're doing a Talking Spartans video on Spartan Stadium after a game. Like I'm sitting there, no hat, no gloves, no coat, just a muskox flannel, comfortable as can be, looking tan off the beach while Solari's freezing his ass off. That's the comfort of a muskox flannel. And also standing in the water in the Pacific Ocean, not Pacific Ocean, it's the Pacific Ocean. Jesus. And I'm telling you right now, did the photo shoot, but didn't take the flannel right off. Was very comfortable on a nice windy day on the beach. Underrated beachwear. Muskox Quality Flannels. Also great Cyber Monday deals. 25% off flannels and hats. Go to gomuskox.com. Jason, how you doing, brother? Caw, caw. Instead of boo, boo, caw. I mean, I felt all of Fred Human. He's got a stupid-looking face.
Hey, man. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing all right.
I like your tan. You got a good tan going?
I feel good.
The whitest man alive comes back from Maui with a tan.
It looks ridiculous. Usually I turn late in the year where my hair becomes darker than my face, and right now it's gone back to like July.
I have to say, because we're going to beat you up for the next 2 hours, so I want to give you a compliment. I was really annoyed by how good you looked in the pool.
Thank you.
That one pool at night where it's like the vibe. I'm like, God damn, I'm jealous of this MFer right now because it looked really nice.
I waited till it was dark and the lighting would be perfect.
And then, the Michigan State Rutgers game, and then he tweeted, and I was like, man, maybe he doesn't want to do the show anymore. He just didn't want to tell me the show's over. Just get the whole fucking fan base pissed off at us
on
a Monday.
Not everyone.
I love you, man. That was that game sucked complete ass, and I'm like, please, Couch, tweet something out that'll piss people off to make this entertaining. Sure as shit, here comes Couch, barreling through with his muskox flannel on. I think you guys should be outside suffering through this if you want to have an opinion. Send. Like, what? Are you out of your fucking mind, dude? Anyway,
well, at least I doubled down on it with the quick takes, too. So, it's, just made it worse.
As you're up in the booth, and then you were tweeting out, it's like you were talking to some, like, subtweeting someone or something. You're just like, it's nice up here in the press box. I'm not leaving. Or something to that effect. And I'm like, how does this guy walk amongst other people? How do you not get tackled? I'm just like, it's amazing. Yeah, I know who you are. I know what you're doing. It makes me laugh. Like you open the show, you're like there's a fellow columnist possibly that just tells you to watch football outside. Like you got the whole bit going on. I get it. You get the people going. It's funny. But man, oh man, I'm like shit. We're not gonna be able to do the podcast anymore.
Well, a couple things. One, I never tweet things I don't believe. Sometimes
that's the problem.
Sometimes Pure Options is in the system a little bit. But that was not what happened on Saturday. The one tweet that people got, I think, more upset with was me saying, I just don't care if they go 6-6 forever. It allows me to go to warm climates over Thanksgiving like Maui and all. But
as he's fresh back from Maui, by the way, too.
And it keeps national writers away. That does not mean that's my preference. Like I was responding to a tweet that has since been deleted by that person, so I'm not exactly sure what was said in the response tweet by that person. So it was me just responding to a tweet of somebody basically saying, you should care that they win, or basically saying you should be in this foxhole with us. I don't know what the tweet was. I forget what the tweet was, and it's been deleted, so I can't see it.
Right.
But the point being, I was trying to explain to them that this is why I don't care. Like my life doesn't suck if they're 6-6. It just doesn't. It doesn't make it any worse. Covering big time winning football is fun too. Like, don't get me wrong.
Winning anything, football, basketball.
Yeah,
hockey.
when Michigan State is relevant in football and people are happy and there is an energy about the program, when football feels like the basketball team did in Maui against North Carolina, that is fun. There's no question about it. Do I like having national writers infringing on the area? No, never will. It's not that I don't
Even
enjoy
Scott Docterman? You don't want him around?
I like Scott Docterman. I would take
okay.
Scott any day of the week. And there are other national writers I like, but just not all of them. I don't want some of the guys in Detroit infringing on me.
The rest. Who, Carlos?
I didn't say that.
Oh.
Anyway, point being,
yeah. What's the point here?
I understand why people are frustrated. We're going to get into those in my response to it in the listener hot takes because there are so many listener hot takes about it that I feel like to burn it now would just be kind of dumb. So we will get into that here momentarily. First of all, before we get into our hot takes, you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. It was awesome. Thank you. By the way, teacups.org, we've sold over like 40-something Christmas ornaments, amongst other things. Couch in the Rube, you can find your Couch in the Rube swag on there. T has her teacups thing on there. If you're looking for a gift for your wife or other loved ones or something like that, teacups.org. I can't believe people are going to put these on their tree. It's absolutely fascinating to me that there's going to be a Santa Rube on someone's tree and they're going to have to sit there and explain when someone comes over for Christmas, for the holidays. So what's that Rube? Who's that guy, that fathead guy up there?
When that 6-year-old girl was waking you up on the couch all those years ago.
I think she was 7. Yeah.
7. She had no idea that someday that would become the legend of Santa Rube and that would be on ornaments.
Yeah. And then I stopped her from stripping.
Yes, you saved her life.
She should be a stripper by now. I think
you saved her
time
life.
Has passed.
Not that there's anything wrong with strippers for our stripper audience, because
but it's not what you want your daughter doing at 18. We can say that. If you need employment.
Yes,
get that money. Maybe OnlyFans.
That's fair. That is fair. Well, good. I'm glad you had a good.
So wait. So we can't talk about your tweet then until we get to the hot takes.
Well, you can talk about it, but we can talk about it more if you want. I
find it fascinating the actual take itself, because as someone that doesn't go to games, well, we'll get into it. But
yeah, we'll get into
anyway.
it.
Yeah, man, it was a nice Thanksgiving. I was kind of had you can hear I kind of had a cold flu kind of thing, so we didn't really go do much. But how about you? I mean, Maui must have been amazing, right? The wife came along.
It was awesome. It was a good time.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of work, but it's a perfect 5 hours later to juggle work. Like my wife goes to sleep, I can work. She did some things while it's a perfect timed difference to make the whole thing work.
And the weather's great.
And it's
right. You can't be mad at anything.
You go snorkeling. It's amazing.
I mean, Elizabeth, talk about what a perfect trip that is. She gets to deal with you, but you're gone most of the time, right. And she gets Hawaii by herself. I mean, come on.
Yeah, she's like stargazing up at Haleakala at the top of the mountain and watching the sunset while I'm off covering basketball. You're
out there grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
doing God's work.
I will say Maui is like
overrated.
No. The Maui Invitational is beyond Maui. Maui's amazing, but that Invitational, which has been around a long, long time, is a early conference tournament, right? It was Izzo's first games he ever coached at Michigan State as a head coach, and Michigan State won the thing in '91, 4 years earlier. They've been in it a long time, and a lot of these tournaments are more new. But it is like you see a guy like Danny Hurley.
Oh, God.
Complaining about this tournament. Like, I'll only play in big-time atmosphere. This is as big a time atmosphere as you get. What's so cool is it's like a high school gym with big-time college basketball that's packed. Like, I will never take for granted the environment of those games when they're close at the end at the Maui Invitational. You cannot create a better environment for November college basketball than the Maui Invitational in a good game. It is incredible. It's so much fun.
So there's a guy that's there.
Right. I mean,
if you were watching it from your television, I'd be like, wow, really? You feel that way about the Maui Invitational?
Yeah,
like,
but
no shit.
Hurley's whiny ass was there too, and he just getting himself thrown out and yelling at him. He's got to be careful. He's becoming a really unlikable character in a lot of ways.
Which is weird. You'd think that you were just, you turned down a Lakers job, you get broke off by UConn, you have a couple championships. I figured, like, what are you in the first minute of a game flipping your tit? I understand college refs are ass, but you kind of have to play the game a little bit, right?
Yeah.
When did he become this guy? Has he always been?
When you've won back-to-back national championships, you can go 0-3 at the Maui Invitational. Nobody's going to think you suck.
Right.
You might
as well just be a nice guy and be,
Just have some perspective. Just don't be a toddler and don't be like the worst of Bobby Knight. That's all I'm saying. It's not that other coaches don't go nuts.
But that's not even like Bobby Knight. Like, Bobby Knight would at least throw a chair, and you're like, okay, he's just an asshole. But Hurley just seems like he's just an annoying guy to deal with.
Yeah, he says things to refs.
Why are you going to do that?
They're not good.
And the refs deserve it, probably.
All right, should we dig into these hot takes?
Man. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. My first hot take. I'll stick with MSU football, and it's not hot at all.
Uh-oh.
No, I just think that the hardest part for people right now in this season, this MSU football season, is there was nothing promising about it. Like, it's not you get that one game against Iowa, but because it wasn't followed up by anything, that doesn't really mean anything, right? There was no growth, and you're supposed to be able to feel decent after year one of a new coach. Like, you're supposed to have something you point to and go, boy, that's promising. This is the beginning, but yeah, it wasn't a great season. And while I think this season had a lot of things going against it, like I do think the schedule was as brutal as it could have been. Like, Michigan State still would have started 6-0 with Indiana's schedule, and that would have been a different vibe, and they still might have struggled at the end and finished 7-5, but different vibe, right? The schedule had something to do with it. But this team did not get better. They got worse at the end. They weren't very good in the second half, and I don't think it had anywhere near as much to do with coaching as it did just lack of depth of talent. And that's, in some ways, not good, but it's also, people should have a real clear understanding where the roster is right now. Because as somebody who covered the MAC, by the way, covered Western Michigan back in the day, lived in Kalamazoo.
No kidding.
Yeah. I have seen that game a zillion times. Because what used to happen all the time, even when you had a good MAC team you were covering or you were watching, they would have a couple drives down for scoring drives. They'd be in it early. They would wear down. They just didn't have it at the line of scrimmage. They didn't have the depth elsewhere. They had some place on the field that was a real weakness, and that spirals on you, and they wind up losing in what looks like a blowout all the time. That's what Michigan State is. Michigan State right now is built like that in a lot of ways. There are places that are promising, that are Big Ten level talent, and then there are guys that are just too young. The line of scrimmage is really bad, and that's what it is. And it sucks because that's not an easy fix, even in the days of the portal. It's not an easy fix when you don't have momentum. It's not an easy fix when there is some uncertainty about the degree in which you can overpay to fix it in the NIL world. So these things, that's the reality. And the hard part is, I think the whole landscape has changed too, that it's not even, like, rebuilds are going to look different. They're going to be much more flash-in-the-pan type things. It's going to be very hard at a place like Michigan State to maintain something even when and if you get good. Right? I think what happened in 2021, the great Mel Tucker team that sort of stands out and then fell apart the next year, is going to be much more the norm. What happened at Florida State this year after last year is going to be much more the norm. The run MSU had from 2013 to 16 and that Michigan had from 21 to 23, like, that's going to be really tough to do and damn near impossible to maintain. Years like 2016 for MSU, much more normal. And I think one of the things that's going to become hard, and Michigan State's a long way from this because they even haven't had the good year in a while, but is that you're not going to be able to, you got to be careful not to overreact and want to fire coaches when those things happened, because the difference between the old days and now will be that you can get it back. That having a 3-9 season or a 4-8 year where everything goes wrong, because it's impossible to build culture year over year, to have leaders who have been in the program 3 or 4 years who understand how it's going to be done. But I also think, it makes it really delicate and tricky, and you have to get lucky in rebuilding a program, because as you use the transfer portal, if you're Michigan State right now, you have to not only infuse your program with talent as much as you can in places that you're really hurting or you need depth or you need this, but you have to find the right types of guys. And these are also guys who are leaving another program for one reason or another. And sometimes that's not a bad reason. Sometimes I think what you see at Indiana is guys following a coach, that's fine. Or you see guys moving up a level. Those guys are usually guys who won at another level, and they're used to winning. I think sometimes those guys are better than the guys who struggled to find the field or were on losing power programs or whatever and don't have that built into them. I think this is going to be really hard to do. And I'm not saying Jonathan Smith and his staff can't do it, but it's going to be different than what they did at Oregon State. And that's what makes this offseason so interesting and so pivotal, and that they've got to make – it's going to be –
but why does it have to be different than Oregon State?
Because the transfer portal didn't exist. You can't build a culture over time that way. And the other thing you don't have the benefit of at Michigan State, and this is part of what I got into the column the other day, is this fan base is so beaten down and is so skeptical of him already, and has been. I mean, it's not his fault that the end of the D'Antonio era happened or most of the Mel Tucker era happened, but they just don't have the stomach for a rebuild. Now, that doesn't mean if he's given the time and it takes 4 years and they start winning in 4 years, people won't be backing all into it and admit they were wrong or whatever, but people aren't going to be with him till then. It's going to be really hard.
But right after the first year, what are fans wrong about? Because when we talked before the season, it was 4.5 wins was the expected, and we talked about, hammer it, but we were talking hammer it, meaning it was going to be 5, or 6 wins. 7 at most, maybe. We talked ourselves possibly into 8 wins, but I think we forget that. But what we asked before the season what we wanted to see at the end of the season, and that's some momentum. And that's, as a Lions fan, that 2022, that Bears game, when we saw that and when we went into Green Bay, beat Aaron Rodgers, momentum kind of shifted. I just don't see where the momentum shifted in this Michigan State football season. Did the players get better whatsoever? I just didn't see any improvement. I have no problem with them only winning 5 games this year. Yeah, was it really bad at spots? Absolutely. It was bad in a lot of spots. Was there silver linings? I don't know. I mean, Nick Marsh, Aiden Childs, but all the conversation is, are those guys going to leave and all that stuff? But then you see Ohio State spend, $15 million on a roster, and they got their ass handed, $20 million, and they got their ass handed to them at home at the Horseshoe. It's so I'm willing to be patient, but you have to sit there right now and go, what would we be wrong about Jonathan Smith right now? If we sit there and make some proclamation and say, I'm not happy with the way the program is right now. It's true. You're not getting any recruits. You're not getting any momentum. You're not making any of your players better. So why is it a problem right now? If I say I'm not really behind Jonathan Smith, I'm willing to give him his contract for whatever you want me to do. But currently right now, I'm not excited.
Yeah, you said a key word in there, and I think this is the key. You said, if I'm going to make a proclamation. I think the big thing is right now just not to make any proclamations. Just to say I don't fully trust it. But I'm just not willing to.
But we talk sports. I don't see I have a problem with it. If you're a rational ass fan and you want to sit there and go, you know what? I got to say, I'm behind Jonathan Smith. I have to be. I'm a Michigan State football fan. I have no problem with that. But if you want to ask me if I'm happy about where the program is heading or the university period, if you want to talk about the university and how you're not excited about the university period, that is fine as well. And you don't have to go to games and you don't have to sit in frigid ass weather and freeze your dick off to watch shitty sports. And that goes for pro sports, college sports, high school sports. I don't give a shit. I don't want to go in shitty weather and watch shitty sports. And you can't make me. You want to sit there and you want to take my fucking Michigan State football fan card? I could give a dick. You can take it. I'm still going to watch the games. I'm going to come on the show as long as people will have me and listen to me, and I'm going to give my opinion, and I don't have to sit in the freezing cold while a sports writer sitting in his fucking muskox sipping on cocoa, hitting send. I mean, I'm just saying.
Everybody can get a muskox. Again, go muskox.com, and it's, if you want $15 off your muskox flannel, it's just fix it in post, all one word. So, yes, but a couple things. What I meant was the word proclamation. I meant sort of forming a final judgment, and proclamation may have been overstating that.
Yeah, I didn't know that word when I used it. I've heard some smart people use it before.
Let's look up proclamation. What does proclamation actually mean? Hold on. Give me some off.
Hopefully it's a porn word.
I am the passenger.
Peacock?
Yeah, it's just... okay, it's
declaration.
It's just it's a public announcement. Anyway, that's all.
What a waste of time that was.
Oh, Jesus, the whole thing of playing off proclamation. I really suck at this. Anyway, all of what you said is fine. I didn't mean to say you can't have an opinion on the state of the program right now and be unhappy with things. I just meant to have a sort of judgment on where things are going and. Is
more power to the people that went out and stayed through that game and watched that game in that snow. If that's what you want to do, more power to you. But
my point is this: there are programs where people will be out there when it's cold. There are places and what I'm saying is, when you have 15 to 20 recruits on the sideline, and they're judging the energy and the vibrancy and the situation at Michigan State against other programs, and yes, losing 41-14 to Rutgers is a more damning to that situation than the fan attendance. But all of it matters. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying people should be out there. I'm just saying understand all of it matters. And to some degree, your lack of attendance matters. And I'm also not saying that Michigan State fans haven't been beaten down for nearly a decade now. And I'm not saying I would have been there. Now, I'm just saying that understand all of it matters, and that's the choice you make if, and I've gotten so many emails on this, not just the tweet. I've got like 65-year-olds and 75-year-olds like telling me that they've been going for 60 years and it was just too cold for their wife, and they just didn't, they were worried about it. Like,
blaming it on the wife.
Like I said, no, what I mean is I'm not, if you can't, I'm not saying you should go if you can't go. If you're a long way away, if it's something that's
I don't give a shit
you.
if you're 50 yards away from the stadium. If you lived in a little hut next to the fucking stadium and they said, here's a free ticket, walk in here, I would still not walk in there and watch that shit show. I don't understand why you have to do that. It's like Bills fans. They're sitting there, oh, yeah, $20 an hour to snow. Oh, absolutely. I ain't digging the fucking Lions out of Ford Field. I'll tell you that much. You spend enough on these tickets, I ain't have to dig them out of snow as well. It's crazy. And then you have Iowa fans with Kirk Ferentz that sit there, 9 wins, absolutely fantastic. Every single year sit out in that stupid snow with that shit offense and that shitty fucking program. I just don't understand why these people do it. And if you want to sit there and go like, oh, you're not a true fan if you don't sit and brave the fucking elements, then I guess I'm not a fan. I guess not. I'll just sit there in my living room for 8 hours on a fucking Saturday and another 9 hours on a Sunday. I don't care. Think of whatever fan I am.
Iowa won 8 games, but they did hit the over, which is key, which is 7.5.
And that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But do you want to win a national championship? Do you ever have national championship hopes?
Totally.
Kirk Ferentz isn't going to give you that.
Totally different situation. And I think Michigan State fans would have been out there if they had Iowa's season to a greater
More fans,
degree.
Yeah.
And it was a brutal weather. And again, not saying you should go. I'm just saying be aware.
But if
that
they
all of
put
this
you
matters.
through that Brian Ferentz fucking offense for more than one season, I'm sorry. Then you want to sit there. You want me to pay to go sit there and watch you guys out.
Well, the other
just
thing,
inept offense.
Let's flip this though, because and we'll get into this more, and because a lot of you are unhappy with me on this statement, and some are not. But I do think MSU and college football needs, and I get that a lot of places are down south and have different climates, and it's easier. But the idea that college football is still playing on Thanksgiving weekend for its finale is just stupid. It didn't used to, and it moved to it when they expanded the season. Eventually, it's going to go back. The season's going to start a week earlier, either when they move the playoff week back 1 week, which I think they will soon, and also when the NFL goes to 18 games and starts on Labor Day and they don't want to be up against it. Like, within 5 years, college football will not have this problem anymore where you don't have the students and it's this late in the year. And that's part of the issue. They don't treat their fans that well. That would be a much better weekend for conference championship games than it would be for the regular season finale. And so that's a discussion as well. And Michigan State fans have been treated like shit all year. They were asked to show up at night constantly. They were asked to show up at night on a Friday in November, the week before, to watch Purdue. Like, so I'm not saying MSU fans have gotten a fair shake, have been treated well, that it's a good experience. College football is an experience. I'm going to do a story on this. I'm going through. I've started to set a stopwatch on the commercials, not just college football, but pro and the difference. College football commercials are like half a minute longer. By the way, so it just eats at you. It's just long breaks. They add the 2-minute warning, which you didn't need in college football. They have made, if you are there on a day when the wind chill is 13 degrees and it freaking feels awful, and you're not at home and watching the commercials, and you got this stupid-ass guy in a red jacket, doesn't even hold his own sign up with the clock counting down how long the commercial is going to be, standing on the field constantly for very little football and a 3.5-hour experience. It is not a good, well-packaged entertainment value for the in-person fan when it's that cold. There are lots of things. I get it. It sucks. I'm not saying I would have been there. I'm just saying understand how badly do you want it? And that was my question. And what
if I paid for the ticket and didn't go, and then you can put that towards some NIL or whatever, and then does that give me the right to sit there and have an opinion now?
Everybody has the right to an opinion. I did say pipe down, I guess. But all right, we'll get into that. All right, what is your next hot take?
Go Lions, restore the roar. Iguna Yaba Gita Jared Goff.
I don't know if this is really a baked take or not, but back-to-back Thursday games are ass. And I don't know if we should sit people for the Packers game. Because of the injuries, I just can't stand the injuries. And by the way, Ben Johnson, I love Ben Johnson. But can we stop with the Penei Sewell incorporating in the offense? Like, until we win a Super Bowl. I don't care if we win a Super Bowl this year. Next year, you can run plays where he throws it out of his ass cheeks. I don't care. But I just can't handle any more injuries, right? Malcolm Rodriguez, he's out for the year. All of these guys coming off the scrap heap and going to have to replace some of these guys. I mean, we're doing it. You know what I mean? And I know it's your thing. Well, you should sit guys out until week 10. All that, but I'm being serious. With another short week, a Thursday night game. Should we? I mean, come on. Let's see what Hendon Hooker has. No,
it's not a short week though. They played last Thursday.
I understand that, but back-to-back Thursday games is complete ass.
And then you get a longer time off.
Yeah, I'm just saying with the injuries. Listen, it wasn't a well thought out hot take. The Lions game was last Thursday, and I don't really have much here because I don't know. Okay. But I'm just saying. But should we start sitting guys? I'm being serious.
No, you want that bye in the playoffs, and you want the
I know,
games
but
in the
I can't
domes.
handle it. Every game, guys are going out, and
the Eagles just won't freaking lose. Yeah, no, it sucks because it's like this is the year that I mean, actually in both leagues that there's going to be a 1 and 2 loss teams all the way through to the end. You're going to have to play your guys.
And the Jared Goff MVP disrespect. I mean, I know that Josh Allen was a great game last night.
I'd give it to Josh Allen, no, over Goff.
As of currently, right now, but I'm saying Jared Goff isn't even in the discussion. I mean, Saquon Barkley, a running back's not going to win it anyway. And by the way, Josh Allen, if we beat Josh Allen when he comes into to Detroit, I mean, there we go.
Yeah.
So I just don't know why we're getting disrespected here, like the Eagles and all that shit.
No, I'm look. The injuries,
no more injuries.
The injury stuff is frustrating, and it's like again, this is my.
I know
whole
it
point.
happens to every team.
Once you win a Super Bowl, once you've done
care.
it once in future years, I would consider having a part of your roster that's activated in week 11, and that's the beginning of the season.
I just want to win one.
Yeah,
I just want to win one, please.
It's because this is the way football works. It's not like not like they've been hit with injuries. Every team's hit with injuries. This is what football is. You have a quarterback. This is why Jared Goff's got to be really good. Because you have a quarterback, and that's the only guy left at the end of the year with a completely different roster most of the time. So that's
as long as we keep Goff and Branch healthy, I think we can plug and play some other guys. But
all right, MSU basketball. That game against North Carolina and Maui, the Xavier Booker rebirth, the level of determination and intensity in a game that didn't have Jace Richardson. By the way, I think it helped for a while not having him, and I don't mean that in the sense that he's not their best offensive player. He is. But it was interesting when all those guys were sort of playing up a level and having these career games. I don't think that was an accident. I think MSU has kind of one too many players for a good rotation. Now, ideally, Richardson would be one of them, and somebody else would be gone. But what I mean is you could just tell those guys knew they were going to play a lot and they were needed, and they looked relaxed, and they got longer stretches of run out there, and they played really well. And in the second half, you can see why they need Richardson. They barely hung on. They need his offense, and you look at his efficiency rating, like at Ken Palm, it's like top 10 in the country right now. It's incredible. But they badly needed a game like that, and it was, I think, there's been so many of these games in the last few years against programs like that, and North Carolina's flawed in certain ways. They're not as good inside as they've been, but they still have a lot of firepower on the perimeter. So many of those games they've lost, or they've been close, just like they were close against Kansas and close against what I think is a really good Memphis team, just sort of not quite there. And I wrote the column can they actually get there? And right away they show that they have that gear in them. And I think the way, I mean, look, they tried to give that away a game at the end.
I was about to say, they still shot 25% from three.
There's lots of stuff that is imperfect about this team, but they did win that game. They did win it. And you could see how important it was to Izzo afterwards, how much he knew that meant to them. You could see how much it meant to all those guys to be rewarded for that effort, for the way they came out and played. And I think that is a game that is potentially has carryover in other big games later in the year. You've won it. That doesn't always go against you, even when things are shaky. I think one of the things you look at a guy like Jeremy Fears, who didn't get to go through big games and big moments last year, who's doing it for the first time really a lot this year, especially in his role. He was really shaky at times in overtime and late in the game, and some of the decisions he made and one defensive. He's got to learn from that. But he hasn't been through that stuff as much yet. I just think it was a really helpful game on a number of fronts for a number of guys playing well. And Xavier Booker, who I wouldn't say I was writing him off, but I was writing him off for the time being. I was like, it just didn't look like a guy whose minutes were valuable on the court. It looked like there were better ways to use his minutes.
And why was that, though? Was it his body language a little bit? I mean, because I understand it's with the A.J. Hogard thing from last year, it was the body language, and I think Booker has that a little bit.
He's got to be aggressive. When he is, I mean, he talked about it. He sat down, they were at the Sheraton in Maui in a ballroom, he and Sadi Washington, going over his tape and pointing out all these points in the season where he could have posted up, put a body into somebody, and didn't, and passed on it. And he just went into the game with this idea that I am not going to do that. Now, the matchup worked for him, too. There are going to be matchups still that are challenges for him. This team has it's anything but matchup proof. There's a lot of matchup dependencies. The one thing they do luckily have, if they can figure it out, and I thought Izzo and his staff pulled the right strings in this game in terms of subs and when they had them and who they rode, and you have to feel good. I know there are questions sometimes about who Izzo plays and when, that they read the situation with Booker, and he played the final 5 minutes of regulation and all of overtime. Okay, that's the center, right? And we talked about that last summer, the idea that when we watched them play in Spain with Cohen Carr at the 4 and Booker at the 5, that looked like a closing lineup, and guess what? Against North Carolina, it was the closing lineup. But even though they're not matchup proof, they have enough different types of guys that I think there's always going to be a decent matchup for somebody. You just got to get there, and you got to find it in time, and you got to ride whoever it is and just trust it and have guys understand that one game may not look like the next, and that can be okay. But you do need some level of consistency for Booker. That's what you're looking for in Minnesota on Wednesday night. That's what you're looking for against a decent Nebraska team on Saturday. Can he start to – we saw last year once he started having good games, he had them more frequently. Can he be somebody, even if he doesn't have a great game, that every night earns his minutes, that every night is – changing shots, that every night is getting on the offensive glass, posting up even when it's not working. He's got such great hands. He's got length. He's got things that nobody else has. And what I think was the best thing that happened for him is I thought the way his first big game this year would happen would be through a game where he hit 3 or 4 threes, and everybody was happy with him, and he was happy. But it didn't really. I mean, he just shot well. Because I think that part of his game is there. I think it's going to be a tremendous strength. At some point, he's not hitting them well. Nobody's really hitting them that well except Holloman in the first half the other day. But the fact that it happened differently, that it happened with aggression, that it happened inside, that he was rewarded for the way he played when he didn't shoot well, I think was a really valuable thing. So I think this game will have carryover. I think Cohen Carr is continuing to improve immensely. I think.
Well, let me ask you real quick about Minnesota on Wednesday with them winning against North Carolina without Richardson. Where do you think that will put him minute-wise against Minnesota? Because that's the only thing that scares me is Izzo sees that he can win without Jace Richardson, which I didn't.
Oh, you're talking about Jace? No, Jace.
I didn't think that he could beat North Carolina without him. So I just didn't know if Izzo's going to take something from that.
No. They know Jace Richardson's their best offensive player at this point.
Well, yeah, I would hope so.
And so he is going to play now. Does he have, one of the things I liked in that game was they started Holloman over Fiddler. They've been off to these starts because Fiddler played pretty well, but I thought he was actually really steady and good and had a couple big defensive plays, one intercepting a long pass. I thought he was really effective, but he came into the game and found his way, and I think that's a better spot for him. Now, they started Holloman. Will they keep starting Holloman? I don't think it matters. I think they're best with those 3-guard lineups. Jace Richardson's going to play a lot of minutes. If you start Holloman, that's fine, but Richardson's going to be 25, 28 minutes a game as the season goes along, and that's fine. I don't think those minutes are going anywhere for him. What do you have a final hot take?
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Well, the Ohio State-Michigan game ended with some controversy, Graham. I don't know where you stand on it, but it just makes me laugh sitting there watching the talking heads yesterday and this morning, sitting there trying to tell 20-year-old kids who get amplified by these games because of the money, the talking heads talking about it, the Fox shows in the morning, Gus Johnson losing his voice like an unprofessional that he is. I just don't get why we get bothered by these guys wanting to plant a flag post-game. It's what you get taught about the rivalry, the 10-year war between Ohio State and Michigan and all that shit. Did anybody die from that? No. I just think it's a big, giant overreaction from guys our age that sit there and go, oh, that's just classless. I get it, but what do you want from these guys? They're in their 20s. They got a lot of fucking money, and they don't like the guys across from them. And I get it's stupid to even try to plant a flag with that AstroTurf, whatever the hell they try to put it through.
It is dumb.
It is stupid, but I mean, you know what I mean?
It's like punching somebody in a hockey fight with a face mask.
Right. Where the punches thrown. I mean, there was a little skirmish. It's a bunch of guys with helmets that have just finished 4 hours of pushing each other around and fucking cheap shotting or whatever, right? And now we're going to get pissed off and scared about the future of college athletics and college football. The college football I love, go fuck yourself.
No, there are lots of things that could ruin college athletics.
It's going to happen.
Flag planting is not one of them.
No.
And the passion that they have. First of all, half of the fan base gets on social media after these games and goes at players' mothers, right?
Yeah.
Like the people in the crowd are fucking asses, and that's why I'm glad nobody was
on each other.
I'm glad nobody was at the Michigan State game because nobody was an ass, right?
That's the best part is people going home in their cars and be like, I just can't believe those guys. It's classless as they spit on like an Ohio State fan or an Ohio State spitting on a Michigan fan. It's just like we're trying to act like we're just above all of this shit, and it just drives me nuts.
I've talked about this before, so forgive me for those who've listened, but I tell most of my stories multiple times. But years ago when I first got to the LSJ, they wanted me to do a story on opposing fan bases. And like what was the best and worst experiences. So I interviewed at Spartan Stadium opposing fans, traveling fans, because the ones who travel to Spartan Stadium are traveling usually to a lot of different games. And I asked them about different experiences in different stadiums. Universally, Nebraska, nicest fans. Universally. People had lots of different experiences, lots of places. Universally, Ohio State, most crass, awful people. And so And I unfortunately lost that recorder before I could ever do the story. It was really pissed me off. But I did enough of those interviews to tell you this. And Ohio State fans can say whatever they want. But collectively, relative to the rest of the Big Ten, and now there's added some schools, so who knows. But collectively, relative to the rest of the Big Ten, until it went to 18 teams, you were the worst. And there's no doubt about that because I did probably 35, 40 interviews of people. And almost everybody who'd been to Ohio State said that's the worst. And these were Iowa fans. These were Purdue fans. They were fans from all over the place. So, for Ohio State fans, and
I don't know if Ohio State fans, I didn't really hear them standing on their soapbox and trying to be above it all either. But I just love that the talking heads and all the national stuff, it's like everybody wants you to be on your P's and Q's. It's like, come on, man. That's just not the way it is anymore. Big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway.
All right. Final hot take from me. Just quickly here, I thought this was a really interesting quote, and I tweeted this out from the Texas Tech coach, Joey McGuire, or I don't know how to pronounce it, McGuire.
McGuire?
Yeah, but it might be French. Anyway, one of the things that people are all on their, the Big Ten's this, the SEC is this, the SEC should get 1 million teams in, all this stuff. He pointed out something really good. And this tells you that we don't actually know which conference is better and what's what right now. A team from the Pac-12 last year is probably going to win the Big Ten, Oregon. A team from the Pac-12 last year, Arizona State, might win the Big 12. They're in the championship game. A team from the Big 12 last season, Texas, which could never win the Big 12 hardly, is about to win the SEC, maybe, if they beat Georgia. A team from the American Conference, not even a Power 4 conference last year, is about to win the ACC with SMU. Point being, you act like one league's better than the other, and there's all this and this and this, and when we just don't know year to year. And the fact that all these other teams coming from different leagues are winning these leagues, I think it's just important to remember we don't know squat. And keep that in mind when I tweet things that I actually don't know.
Bullshit. I've been pretty hot on my college picks. I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying our bets are always bets are bad. In fact, when we do our show midweek on bets, I am going to win just about every NFL future this year, and it's incredible. I've never been on a run like this. Like it isn't like I think there's one bet I'm not going to win. I'm going to win like 19 of them.
Really?
It's I've never been this on, and I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, so we'll get into that.
Can't wait till you and Harry 69 about that.
Yeah. We'll definitely. We'll definitely do that.
Graham, great picks, Graham.
Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we will dig into your takes. Some fantastic stuff. Should be a fun show. Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Pure Options, Precision Crafted Cannabis, and our Monday afternoon show brought to you by Muskox Quality Flannels.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. Mention Couch the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a Pro Grow 8th with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeeper's online casino and sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis. One of my favorite things about Pure Options and their Midtown location is on Cedar there in Lansing is the Good Truckin' Diner food truck that is there. So if you're looking for a little way to have a great lunch, swing by Pure Options and take care of yourself for the weekend. Good Truckin' is there for you. Fantastic food, and right there in the parking lot of Pure Options. And our what day is it? Monday afternoon show. Mm-hmm. Brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. I am wearing a Muskox flannel right now in complete comfort, and I'm telling you, it is not just it is such a like I'm out on the field the other day, and I was talking about this. It really is. You are comfortable in just about any setting, and I'm not saying you want to test it in 100-degree weather, but it wasn't bad in Maui, and it wasn't bad in 13-degree wind chill in Spartan Stadium. The breathability, the comfort, the durability, an awesome gift for Christmas. So if you want to show somebody you care, go muskox.com. You can use the promo code FIXITINPOST and show somebody.
Father-in-law. I'm telling you. I've done it.
Great,
it works.
Great father-in-law gift.
Yes.
A Muskox flannel. All right, time for your hot takes. You ready?
Yep. Eric Schultz first. Number 1, everything. Every column, every take, every blurb. Everything needs to be written through the lens of Smith and Haller are dead men walking until we see evidence otherwise. This was an unacceptable end to an unacceptable season. They need to earn their jobs back. And 2, Graham's crowd-sized take was spot on in 2014. You can't be all, I get it, why MSU fans are upset when it comes to the Michigan situation, handling the Big Ten and lack of recruiting, lack of NIL, and the horrific on-field product, only then to bash fans when they display their anger.
Fans are welcome to display their anger any way they want. And again, that's part of my point with saying I don't mind 6 and 6 seasons. If this continues forever, and people get excited about basketball and they're happy for a minute about football and then disappointed, my life will be fine. I'm not bashing.
Yeah, but
fans.
People would like to read your stuff if there's a winning football team.
100%. I would like to write about a winning football team. But the point being, though, is you make a choice how badly you want it. If this is the choice to say you're unhappy, that is one way to do it. And maybe that's effective. Maybe that gets some things done. I do think that Smith and Haller and everybody needs to sort of meet the fan base where they are and sort of explain the vision of things. I think that needs to be better communicated. I think Eric's 100% right on that. I do think this wasn't an acceptable season by what should be the standard of MSU football. And obviously there are lots of reasons for it. And not all of them are that coaching staff's fault. I disagree with the dead man walking thing, but that's me. I don't think a coach after year one, even when it didn't go that well, like this season in a lot of ways, had a lot of the similarities to 2021, and hang with me. What I mean is that season obviously was 8-0 a start, and they were a much better team, but the way it ended, you saw a team when they lacked depth, when they had injuries in the secondary, the fall-off really happened. That team started from a higher place, so it ended at a higher place, but this team started at a lower place and couldn't withstand it. I'm not saying the coaches did a great job this season. I'm not saying it was anything you should feel good about. I certainly wouldn't say that. Like I said, there was nothing promising about this season. And you're right, I do think they're still in a prove-it mode. Earning their jobs back, I think, is too far.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
Dominic next. Graham, I love you. even if you are a better father and husband than you are a columnist, and I don't want you to root for MSU. You should. However, your bullshit yesterday was fucking excruciating. I don't know if you have a sun poisoning or if you caught a grump-ass attitude from Solari, but that was not fucking it. I expect that kind of shit from David Harns, who would rather blame fans rather than call out this disaster of an athletic director and our bullshit NIL or our hillbilly deliverance ass doggone heck of a chicken fried coach. 2, that tweet was tone deaf and makes people resent the media as Haller water carriers. I know that isn't you. And for your peace of mind, we praise you in the group chats, but we all agreed that your tweet was shit and you need to publicly apologize. So if I don't misunderstand, you want me to freeze my enormous dick off in sub-zero temperatures to watch that shit-ass product to help recruiting? I have that fucking school. I have given that fucking school tens of thousands.
Where did you get that fucking school?
I have put it in. Well, there's.
Did you add the word?
I have that fucking school tens of thousands of dollars. I have season tickets. I donate. No, I don't got to fucking do shit, Couch. Furthermore, where do you get the balls? Mr. D'Antonio will bring someone in with fresh offensive ideas. Izzo will embrace the portal now. Tucker deserves 4 to 5 years. Trust Harlan Barnett, the man. No offensive line for 10 years. But yes, I need to go sit in the snow and play.
Appreciate you, Dominic. Look, I said what I said. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I didn't believe that it makes an impact to have an empty stadium. I do think it makes an impact. It shows a lack of vibrancy in the program, and maybe there is a lack of vibrancy. Maybe this is the reaction. But the thing is, when you have a program that's on a failing third or fourth year coach that's going to be let go, and you're trying to send the athletic department a message, then that makes a lot of sense. When you've got a guy at the beginning of a long contract who you're hoping still works out, I'm not sure that's the right message to send. That's all.
Anthony Armour, I find our fan base in football and men's basketball to be whiny, entitled, and lacking the self-awareness that isn't helping the football program. The football program is at best the 7th best program in the new Big Ten and borderline a home coach. What is this? Home coach program?
One coach program.
One coach. Fucking killing me, man.
Sorry.
Crying about the blue wall every single show and then flipping out when couch isn't the green wall. Our NIL is struggling. If you as a fan don't like it, donate an amount of money that won't bankrupt you, but is $20 or
isn't $20. Sorry.
20 or shut up. Also, if I have to listen to Dominic complain about Izzo in the transfer portal for another whole season, when transfers have been our best players the last years, I'm going to put a bazooka to my head.
Sorry,
bazooka time.
I actually typed that one out, so I didn't have to switch Twitter accounts, and I screwed a couple things up. Thank you, Anthony. Look, people are going to be on all sides of this because there are people who agree with Anthony who think that people should be out there, or it is a fan base that. I
think fans are getting sick of getting shaken down as well. It's like you got to always donate and do this, and
when they want clarity on where to donate and how.
Right.
I think that's a fair thing. They want to know. What is money? What is the most productive thing I can do as a fan?
Is it $50? Is it going to the O-line?
Yeah. Where's it going? Correct. Yeah. How is it going, and how's it going to be used, and how does this work? And that stuff is fair. And then are the billionaires all in? And how does all that stuff? All that stuff I get is stuff that absolutely matters, and people want to know. I also think people don't like to be criticized, and keep this in mind when you're ripping a player or a coach or something like that. And again, they're in the arena and they're open to criticism, but people generally don't like to be criticized, and I criticize them. And this is sort of the reaction to that. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Thomas next. MSU football is a 2-coach program still, and gripes about the speed of the rebuild and what we should expect are based in some unresolved emotional attachment to D'Antonio's era. And bonus, Spartan Stadium needs space heaters or complimentary blankets much more than any luxury upgrades.
The idea that there's unresolved emotional attachment to the D'Antonio era, I mean, he did provide the greatest years, but I do think there is this, he did things for them that they never thought possible. He took them to the dream. And then he left it like a lot of programs off and end, not well. And I think it's what people are scared for with Izzo, that they don't want it to go that route. and the program paid for it and is still paying for it to some degree, because if you don't make the right decisions and the right hires and the right approach and all the right moments after something like that, you can be stuck where MSU is.
Kurt Wisniewski, number one, Michigan State alumni and fans need to support the football program through the worst and the best. Focus on NIL and speaking highly of your alma mater to all students and future athletes. This is how we win. 2, Aiden Child's statements post-game were not wrong. However, I'm curious about the attitude pieces he mentioned. Is there a locker room problem?
I don't know that there's, first of all, that's the first I had heard of that, number one. Number two, I think there are guys every year in most teams, especially teams that aren't winning a ton, that are unhappy. And when you're recruiting, when you're bringing in 61 new players who aren't, sort of raised in the program as college football players, they're there to get paid, to advance their college careers. They're less about the future of the program generally than themselves. Now, 61 new players, some of them are freshmen as well. So I think this is just something that's going to be there more and more. The fact that he mentioned it, the thing I liked about Aiden Childs, what he said the other day, and this goes beyond the, he started out talking about I don't care about the fans anymore, and then he sort of under his breath said I'm just kidding. Or what? It was not clear, by the way. People are ripping reporters for tweeting that. He said it, and then he was not clear that he was joking. In that moment, I didn't realize it. It wasn't until I saw the video later, and I was sitting right there. So you got to be a little careful in press conferences. However, I do think he should be I do like that he was refreshingly open. And I think as he grows into this role for the next year or two as Michigan State's quarterback in what you're hoping is better times as a leader, I don't want him to be scared to speak his mind. And he is a 19-year-old kid. He's going to say, we've talked about what we would say as 19-year-old kids here and there. I shudder at a couple things I said at 19 years old.
Yeah, but at 19, 20 or whatever, or 30 years old, you want to say that. If you guys aren't here to win, get out of here.
No, I think
I love the way he said.
I think all that stuff was great.
Yeah, it gave me more hope for next year, to be honest with you, when he said that stuff. Lobster Puncher next. Jonathan Smith's greatest sin thus far into his MSU career is that he hasn't given us any reason to believe the on-field product will be improved anytime soon. The same failed third, fourth, and short plays we saw this year were dead ringers for 22 and 23 MSU. And bonus, fans don't like watching a football season with very few bright spots and little hope for the future, only to be told by media members covering the team that it's our fault the team is bad.
I didn't say it was your fault. I think that's taking it out of context. That's going too far. But you are saying if you show up, then money pours in, apparently. What I was saying is, I think, how badly do you want it? And there are places that ache for this stuff. And Michigan State, I've always said, one of the problems Michigan State has in football.
Yeah, but ask the university and the football program how bad they want it. And then you can come to the table, and then you can ask me how bad I want it and whether or not I want to spend my money. Because if you're not going to sit there and you're going to spend $2 million to get Izzo a second natty, then why do I give a shit?
Well, I think they want it.
I'm just saying, how much money are we going to put towards the football program for me to sit out in the cold-ass snow? You tell me that. Because if you're only going to put $2 million, that ain't going to get very far. Look at the Big Ten.
Where was $2 million? What do you mean? You're talking about NIL money?
I'm saying, period. How much NIL money is going in right now? Well, you tell me. University, you tell me how.
University is not.
Hold on, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
How much money are you going to put towards the football program with the boosters and everything before you want me to sit there and go out and sit in the fucking snow?
But those are two separate things. The boosters and the university are two very separate things. They are. Okay. And next year when that's in-house, that's the other thing. It's a transition time. Next year, Michigan State will be putting about $22 million into student-athlete payments directly. And I'm guessing 12 to 14 will that be going to football.
Yeah.
And that's coming
But I just think you should tell your fan base whether or not you want to spend money. Because if you don't, then I guess scrap the program because you're not going to win more than 7 or 8 games if you don't want to spend some sort of money.
Yeah, well, people don't want my idea. I would be a bad AD because I would flirt with the idea of trying to be willing to be average in football to invest in everything else at a level that made you dominant everywhere else. And because I think it would be, and I think you could have a lot of fun if you just
as long as you're transparent, I guess.
Well, people
can't fault
you. You got to have football.
I don't know if I would hate transparency. I don't think I would.
Transparency you wouldn't hate. You'd hate the idea though. I think most people.
Mojo Jojo went to my first ever game at the Big House, Michigan, whoever that is. It was a Northwestern. In a nothing season for them, but it was sold out. Their fans show up. The brand is simply so much stronger and better funded. Underwood's money coming from random billionaire's wife, and we can't compete.
There is more money in other places, and there are tiers of this. But Michigan State is at a place where they've got enough of it's nurtured correctly to compete. There are places where it's a struggle, like Minnesota basketball, where Michigan State is playing Wednesday. Iowa basketball. Now, Wisconsin's really good this year, but they've got an NIL problem in basketball. And so it's going to be hard to sustain. There are places where it's just going to get hard. And Michigan State is not one of those places in hoops right now and has more than some, and I think has access and people with money who want to give more. I do think giving more of an all-in approach to this, and it has not been well done. I got to say this. I mean, look, people expect in this day and age, and this is how fucked up this system is, people expect billionaires to just give away their money so that their alma maters can have talent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
you have $1 billion. What'd you make the money for?
Yeah.
If you want to get into sports, that's exactly what you have the money for.
Let me tell you this. Everybody wants, well, why isn't Magic involved? If Magic Johnson started giving NIL money to Michigan State before he fully funded a Lansing Promise, I would shit on him all day long. I would shit on him all day long in the paper. I'm just not. That ain't cool. Like, I don't, let's have some perspective here. But the
please, Magic, you make it so great.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Magic. Don't do it. Well, do it, but do the other thing first. Is what I'm saying. So we get to this point where people want that from billionaires, but the flip side is the billionaires who have made a lot of money in their lives and are clearly smart in a lot of ways are not very good at communicating, are not very good at explaining what they need and how they need, and I think there are egos involved, and I think there's lots of stuff, but they do need to somehow, and I do have a sense that once this gets under the once a lot of the money is coming from MSU directly and they're able to communicate themselves, this gets easier. I think part of the problem is the separation and the egos involved, and there are egos involved. I mean, there are two basic Michigan State has two collectives right now that do not really, they don't work together. They're different formats. I don't know that they like each other all that much. Like that's just the way it is.
But don't you need that? If they don't like each other, then one donates more money than the other.
Well, that's not really how. That's not how it works. It's not. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
C-Dubs, number one. There are a select group of MSU fans that need to think about what they post before they hit send. It's okay to be frustrated and disappointed, but taking shots at coaches and players in a year where we were projected to get 4 wins is an embarrassment to the fan base. 2, teams should be allowed to add time back if the other team commits a penalty after the 2-minute warning. Otherwise, why wouldn't a team continue to commit penalties to just run out the clock? And bake take. Graham isn't a true supporter of Torque United since he doesn't care enough about the team to travel to any games. It doesn't matter that you invest money in them. All that matters is that you go to the games. Did I do that right?
So here's the difference. Yeah, and it's a fair point. I'm with you here. But again, investing money does matter. And I'm not saying if you can't be at a game, if you live thousands of miles away, I'm not saying you should be at the Michigan State games. And again, I'm not saying you should be there anyway. I've tried to make that part clear. I'm not telling you should go. You should do what you want. I'm saying there are places that ache for this stuff more. And that shows up with how they show up. And that gets read by recruits, and that gets seen by everybody, and that's just what it is. It's okay. One of Michigan State's biggest challenges is it's a place that cares about basketball just as much. And people can turn their attention to basketball and hockey and feel good and have a great winter and kind of forget about what's going on, whereas there are places where they just will not, where the drumbeat would be all offseason, fix this and how. And they wouldn't, they'd rather go to a rally for how to raise money than watch Michigan State at Minnesota on Wednesday night. That's not the way it works at MSU. They'll be back at Munn. They'll be like, that's just not the way it works. At Georgia, there'll be empty seats at the basketball arena probably for a big game. I don't know. I mean, it's just that it's just different.
But you say people are misunderstanding your tweet, but did you think that people would misunderstand your tweet when you tweeted it?
I knew people wouldn't probably be happy because people, again, don't like to be criticized. People don't like to be told what to do, even though I was trying to tell them, I'm not telling you what to do. And then also the thing that got amplified was the idea that I don't care if they go 6-6 forever.
That pushed it over the edge.
Made it way worse. Yeah.
Ken Chu, if you average 15 yards per carry and score a touchdown on your first possession, maybe consider running the ball on your next possession.
Yeah, this is a really good take from Ken here, and we'll make this the Muskox a hot take of the day. Just really solid sound, durable, comfortable take that'll age really well, like a great muskox flannel. And for that, muskox will donate an additional $5 to the Alaska Wildlife Conservancy, as they do with every muskox flannel that's purchased. If you go to gomuskox.com, look over everything they've got. They've got some great selections. I'm wearing one today that I absolutely love. It makes my eyes pop. It's the blue. Blue always makes my eyes pop. Several of them do that I have, and you'll be comfortable. It's a gift that just says you care. Again, gomuskox.com. Fix it in post for $15 off a muskox flannel for Couch and the Rube listeners. It was interesting, but when you watch, I saw this post by Ken, and I was watching that 49ers-Bills game in the snow, and you see how hard it was to stop the run, right? Because it's just, you can't really change directions if you're a defender. Like, a lot of what you usually do defensively doesn't work. And that's what Michigan State had going for them, and they did go away from it. I'm not sure why they did, and it was hard to run consistently in that weather, and Michigan State struggled with, so maybe that's part of it. But it really didn't. It seemed like they had something for a minute, and in that weather, the lesson is keep making the defense change directions, right? And I think running the ball
and have an offensive line.
Well,
that helps too.
Yeah.
Braden, next. I'm very concerned the Lions will slip up and have to play the Eagles on the road in the NFC Championship game. I love this team, but I really think home field will determine whether or not they make the Super Bowl this season. I agree.
Yeah.
Can I just say, though, I don't think I'm necessarily that scared or petrified of the Eagles in the NFC Championship game on the road.
You're not scared?
I trust us on the road, yeah. I think that this team has earned a level of trust, right? I think that we kind of creep in a team with one loss, and we're just kind of we're trying to talk about, no, this is gonna. I think that we're gonna slip up here. It's like we're just trying to wait till the other shoe to drop.
So as a 15-year-old in 1995 who remembers that playoff game in Philly, I don't really want that.
I understand.
But that's me being scarred. Like, if I was younger, or I didn't remember that game, or I'd seen some other good moments. I think.
But I mean, the only reason injuries will be the only reason why we're on the road in the playoffs.
I'm not saying they can't get it done. I'm not saying they can't get it done on the road. I'm just saying it'd be easier if they could stay in a dome and get the bye.
Absolutely,
and it is
1,000%.
And it's annoying that in a year that they're this good, that there is a team right on their heels like this. It's in a couple of them, really. Yeah.
And the Vikings don't count. They're fake. Fugazi. Tyler, next. Philly looks pretty good. This 1 seed for home field is looking extremely important. I need to hear Harry's Goff song to maintain the mojo.
Iguna Yaba Gita Jared Goff.
Although you guys are going to probably pick the Packers this week, so.
It's plus
Harry's NFC North champion who fired their coach.
Plus 3.5.
Can we talk about the Flus, though? I'm really pissed that I didn't go to the Thanksgiving Day game just to see that Hall of Fame coaching performance by the Flus. I mean, holy shit. The fact that at all anybody wanted to blame Caleb Williams for that is, I don't know. I just cannot believe Flus actually was given the keys to this team for this season. Unbelievable. Talk about dead man walking with Jonathan Smith and Haller. Holy shit. Flus was never even walking. It was unbelievable.
It was a pretty remarkable. I mean, there's bad clocks, man. Coaches get shit on for bad clock management in situations that when it's moving fast and you can see why they screwed it up, even when they shouldn't, because they're paid to know what they're doing. This was one of those where in real time you're like,
dude,
what?
Everyone was like.
Those are the mistakes you don't want to make. The mistakes you don't want to make are the ones that are so obvious to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, where your wife is like, why aren't they calling a timeout?
Yeah.
Pappy Fitz, I'm comfortable being patient with Jonathan Smith and his staff. I think the schedule and resulting injuries torpedoed some good progress earlier in the year. And I do think they developed players. Cupboard was bare. And as for other Michigan sanctimony in taunting and then pointing fingers is nauseating.
Yeah, I mean, I think people... Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Michigan went and won the game at Ohio State, right? I mean, they can kind of say what they want.
Pepper spray, though? I mean, can we have these cops chill out a little bit? I mean, I understand there's pandemonium going on, but as soon as you let that spray go, you realize it's just pandemonium.
It didn't help.
No. Alex James, the transient nature of college football has created an environment of entitlement and severe leadership. leadership void. There is no accountability from team captains or coaches. Everyone just wants to fight and make money. The true passion is largely gone.
So, I mean, I do think that college athletics have major issues going down the road that are going to be covered up for a minute over the excitement of the expanded playoff, which is awesome, and we're going to enjoy the heck out of. I hear more and more from people who don't go to games not because it was cold the other day, and maybe that's part of it, but they'll go to a game when it's comfortable with friends or whatever, but they don't go because they just don't care as much anymore. They don't like what's happening. And I think that's real. And I understand national writers and buffoons that they usually are will talk about how great everything is, and they'll go to the biggest settings and the biggest games, but that's not what makes college sports. What makes college sports is the collection of every fan base, big and small, throughout, and you need them all. And you need all these little fan bases, smaller than MSU, to also care. And you need the lower tier of the Big Ten to care. And the more that gets left behind, the more people don't feel like they connect anymore, or they have a dream that's attainable, or they just don't like the way it's being done, the more you risk turning people off. And over time, it is not look, I get they're in year one of a giant media rights deal. I'm not saying it's dying tomorrow, but I'm not sure that a generation from now, college sports will be as big as they are now. College basketball is nowhere near as big as it was, men's basketball at least, in the 1980s, right? There are lots of ways you can damage a sport. And I think college football, on its current trajectory, and we'll see what happens when people start getting, if they can get some sort of level of contracts and people understand the systems and people feel better about things, maybe that helps. But I think college football it could be a generation away from being more of a niche sport than it is.
Steve Beckman, number one, thanks for planting a flag for fans like me who were at Spartan Stadium for that entire slog of a snow game until the bitter end. At least they sell beer now. 2, I know Aiden Childs heard me yelling for the defense on third down from the front rows all game. And 3, showing up matters.
Thank you, Steve. This really also should be the Muskox.
Why? Because he agrees with you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
Right. I agree. Steve Beckman should go to those games. A lot of Steve Beckman should go to those games. Suburban man of leisure next. I've been told the offensive line is the most difficult position to develop. D'Antonio stopped trying to recruit after 2016. Tucker tried to get huge talent. He failed and didn't have a plan B. What we are left with now is almost 10 years in the making. What did we expect out of Smith this season?
Well, that's fair. And one of the hard things for Smith, and he is not maybe communicated it all that well, is just the state of things. Because these are your players, and you don't want to be like, there's no talent here. The thing Tucker would have basically said is, there's not enough talent here. And that doesn't always resonate great in the locker room, right? Compete to play, compete to stay, which you can't say in the NIL era. And so I am not going to Minnesota on Wednesday. I am staying for the signing day press conference, which is something I usually don't do, but I don't know how many more times Smith's going to be made available in a press conference setting, for a while. And I just think that there's some valuable stuff to ask, and I think it's interesting to see what he thinks of his roster and this recruiting class as he sort of gets away from the game. It's tough in a post-game press conference when you're just coming off a game to digest a season in the sort of the state of things. And so I want to give him sort of the opportunity to do that in a couple days later, and I just think there's value in that. So, it was a tough spot, and I would love to have a real sense from them just how tough a spot it was, and maybe they knew. I mean, that's the thing I've got to do a better job of that. Like, that's something as a reporter, as a columnist, you should have a better inroad over time to know that these guys know this was tough and they were going to be in trouble.
Nestle's Quick Hotel next. The next few years are make or break for MSU football. It's starting to become an expectation-changing era. The highest point of the D'Antonio era is nearly a decade old. The kids come up in the next few years will have grown up with an impression of MSU much closer to mid-'90s through 2003.
Yeah, most kids aren't like us. Like, we remember the Bad Boys era, and I remember the Super Bowl when I was 5 and 6. Most kids don't come up with these sort of memories, and so it's a shorter thing. This is a big problem for MSU hockey for a while. If you go, 7-8 years irrelevant, you've lost a generation of people in terms of knowing what that school is and in recruits. So this is the problem with you can't ever let it go more than 4 or 5 years, and Michigan State has. And I know they had a blip year. Yeah, you should. Right. Yeah, and so now you're working out of it. You don't get the benefit of the D'Antonio era. Yeah, that is now yesteryear, and that doesn't help you.
I tweet at Couch next. I used to go to games all the time, but the game day experience is a slog now. The commercial breaks are interminable. There is no rhythm to any game. While you're sitting there waiting for the game to restart, you are pummeled by a video board nonstop. It's a terrible experience.
Yeah, I've got to talk to somebody about the audio there. People are really annoyed with the decibel of it, and
Does the person running the board not listen or have hearing?
I don't know. And maybe because there were so many empty seats, it was just bouncing off the metal. I mean, it was even worse the other day.
Listen to this guy.
Sorry.
Making people feel better.
But I agree. I mean, it's a shitty experience. You know, if I were like the marketing director for MLS soccer and I was trying to make the league in this country better, I would start making fun of college football constantly. I would start doing spoof commercials where people are just there and they're bored as shit, and I would just talk about being done in 2 hours with 0 commercial breaks through the whole half, and I mean, better bang for your buck and all that stuff. I would just start shitting on college football nonstop because it's the easiest thing to shit on. When you have something that's not good as an entertainment value, it's not bad on TV, and there's some great moments in the playoffs, fun, and I love all that. But I'm talking sitting at a stadium. I'm the only person.
This guy watches soccer.
I'm the only person in the world who likes the breaks, and the only reason I like the breaks is because it helps me with the quick takes.
Because you get on a treadmill.
Well, that's at home.
Scott, you next. Number 1, Maui was a success. 2, this team fights and plays for each other. They will be a top 5 Big Ten team if they bring the effort of that UNC game to Big Ten play. Need 2 wins this week. And 3, the MSU basketball roster has a higher floor due to depth. The ceiling is very matchup dependent.
No, I agree with this. This is another really good take from Scott. There is some matchup dependency, and I do wonder, though, if they can get through some of that with the different types of guys they have. Like, you know, there will be Xavier Booker games, and there will be Jackson Kohler games, and you know, the real question for me too is, with a true freshman like Jace Richardson, who's been incredibly efficient and valuable, how consistent can he continue to be? He's been unbelievable. There's no doubt about it. Like, can he be this all year and keep growing into more and more of a leading man role as an offensive player? That takes pressure off of Jaden Akins. It makes everything else just easier. I mean, he makes life easier for Michigan State. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But there's no doubt you're right that the floor is also higher due to the depth.
PZ, number 1, could you imagine if Dan Hurley actually got the Lakers job? Holy shit. Bonus, back-to-back Thursday games for the Lions is ass. I miss my Sunday 1 p.m. slot.
You're in the same boat with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
I will say that when the Lions do play, like, it is nice to have the Lions at 1. Like, now that they're on prime time and a lot of different times.
I like a night game, though.
Here and there, but it sucks on that Sunday at 1 when you realize they're not playing.
True.
You know what I mean? But yeah, this one doesn't bother me. I think this is perfect in a lot of ways because they're not. They got the full week.
I know.
And then they get 10 days after that. It worked out well.
Jay Wells, where is there? What is there stopping the pros from using NIL to get around the salary cap? Why aren't Silicon Valley billionaires low-key funding the 49ers or Warriors?
Yeah, it's not allowed. It's part of their agreement, part of their contract. And this WNBA team got in trouble for this because they were being funded separately by an NIL thing, and that became a big problem. Like, this is
a joke there somewhere, but
well, this is what can change too when you have contracts and employment and other things, and if players are paid differently in college sports, is you can control some of this stuff in that setting if you want to. Now, that would have to be collectively bargained, as it is in the pro ranks. But that's why, I mean, it's part of their agreement that they won't do that.
Matt C. up next. Number 1, Matt Eberflus is a Detroit sports legend. He needs a plaque in the Lions Ring of Fame for that clock management on Thanksgiving. It's truly their year. Go Lions. 2, MSU should have done what Michigan did to get Underwood and paid Urban Meyer so much money he couldn't say no. Alan Haller is not serious about football. And 3, John Noel Smith was so bad in year 1, you can make an argument Haller found the one coach in the country worse than Harlan Barnett. Barnett at least had a 17-point lead at Rutgers. It's insane this even entered my brain on Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, what are you going to say?
No, I was just going to wonder what else ran through his brain on Saturday.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, we look. You can say a lot, anything you want about Alan Haller. He's in a leadership position, and football isn't going well. But
we have to give it time.
What I'll say about this is the idea that he's not serious about football is ridiculous. I mean, in fact, he knows his career is tied to Jonathan Smith. He made this hire knowing that. He did a search that was very much on his own behind closed doors, so it would not leak, so he could land this guy. And you can disagree and think they should have gotten and gone after an Urban Meyer, and the donors can a few of them can want that same thing or whatever. This is what he chose to do because he was serious about football.
Kevin from Rochester Hills, number 1, Ohio State will win the national championship in Fire Day. 2, quarterback sliding should be fair game to hit. And 3, flags will be banned from college games.
We saw this in the opener, right? Was it the opener against Michigan State with Florida Atlantic where their quarterback kept sliding and getting hit, and they're getting the late hit calls? And you see it with Trevor Lawrence yesterday. Like,
yeah.
It's
was that the worst hit you've ever seen?
I'm trying to.
I don't know. People were going full 9/11 on that thing. I was like, all right, it was a cheap shot, but I don't think the dude meant to like kill Trevor Lawrence or anything like that. But
the slide does open you up more for the. I mean, the slide. Because you're making yourself even more vulnerable. I don't know.
It's the fake slide I think guys were doing last year. I think Bo Nix was doing it last year, and it's like, okay, well, that's not fair to the defender if you're going to throw these guys out.
No, it's fair. I mean, the defender who hit Trevor Lawrence, it's not his fault. It's Bo Nix's fault. Because part of this is a response to what the sliding's become. Like, to me, if you really want to make this safer on quarterbacks, and you want to make one of the things you could do is you could make it like not just it's a yard or two behind where the slide begins is where they go down. You mark them down, and it would take some of the sliding out of it, but it would also let defenders know, hey, there's real value to letting them slide here. And
I think it's a part of it is watching the guy's arm go like a deer when a deer gets hit by a car, straight up in the arm like that. You're like,
it's nerve-wracking.
Oh my God, is that person dead?
It's not good. Yeah.
Munfield Keg, just so we have it on the record, every time Michigan wins and stuff happens, it is boys will be boys. What I'm hearing from them is the next time MSU wins at Michigan Stadium, a Spartan flag can be planted at center field with no repercussions because that is part of the game. Just verifying.
Yes. I mean, that's absolutely – I don't think that part of – I don't hate that part. I get why people are offended by it and why fights happened. I don't think planting a flag somewhere else after you've beaten them against a rival is all that horrible a thing in this world.
Is it worse than losing the game?
No.
Someone planting a flag?
Right.
I think that's more embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, is it great sportsmanship? No. But there are so many worse things. And the things that are being said by the fans, I mean, shit, go to an SEC game and all those, racist pricks in the stands. I mean, what they're thinking about their own players, I mean, so, like planting a flag, I have no problem.
Professor, number 1, brawl in Columbus ends with $100K fines and no suspensions or criminal charges. Nice to see how it works for the conferences. Sacred cows. 2, MSU beating UNC without Jace Richardson, even if North Carolina not what they used to be, will be a defining moment in this MSU hoop season.
We'll see what MSU does with it. You can't go out and lose to Minnesota off of it. It doesn't have to be this unbelievable momentum thing, but we'll see what they do in other big games late, and it has a chance to be. I would say like the Baylor game a year ago felt like something, and then turned out not to be something. You have to do something with it.
So with the $100K fines, when are they going to start fining the players now that they're getting paid? Is my question.
Well, once they're getting paid directly by the university through revenue sharing, maybe
that will
there's
get it
something
to
there.
Stop, right?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Guys, you're going to get fined $5,000 if you do that again. I think guys would stop doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Nate Rhodes, number 1, Jace Richardson is the best player on this MSU basketball team, and for them to beat North Carolina without him goes to show how good they actually are. They are just not getting credit because of the lack of notable high-caliber player. 2, Khalil Mullins saying Ohio State needs to learn to lose. It's a disgrace to the game is a ridiculous statement. The same could be said for winning. To boast and brag such as they did and expect no reaction is also a disgrace and classless. You have to learn to win also.
It's funny,
but you're a 20-point underdog or whatever, 21-point underdog, and you go in there when your team is down and out. It it's not a great season for you, and you beat. This is the year Ryan Day hammers Ohio State, right? I mean, come on.
This was
unbelievable.
This was an impressive moment by Michigan. It was an impressive moment by their coaching staff. It was an impressive moment by their team.
Congrats to Sharon Moore. Listen, I've been critical of Sharon Moore. I don't know if he's a good coach or not. That was impressive the way you went in there and did that.
Because you were missing your star tight end. You don't have you have a quarterback that threw 2 bad interceptions.
Star cornerback too, right?
Yeah, you're just not. You're not a team that. I mean, look, Ohio State blew that. Don't get me wrong. Talent, pound for pound, I think most high school coaches in this country could have coached Ohio State to a victory there, and for some reason, Michigan or Ohio State just decided to not use their advantages, and I don't get it. That you have 2 unbelievable receivers, and part of it is they stopped trusting their quarterback. I think, which is a big problem. Will Howard, I said at the beginning of the year, wasn't a big Will Howard fan. That was my concern for them. And we're going to start seeing this whole, jumping around, grabbing veteran quarterbacks who were sort of good enough somewhere else. It's not working everywhere, and we've seen that now. You got to be real careful with that stuff. And Ohio State would have been better off hanging on to Joe Germain, or whoever the guy was they had last year went to Syracuse. Was not Joe Germain, but
Can I say, is there a perfect time to plant a flag though? Is when you're an underdog like that, you go into your rival, 100%. Your hated rival's house. You're not very good. You weren't expected to win that game. I mean,
and you've won 4 straight,
right? I just feel like there's no better time to go, okay, they deserve to plant the flag in our stadium.
It does help if it's a grass field and the flag can actually go into the turf.
Yep. Yeah. Dino Spumoni, number 1, OSU will not fire Ryan Day no matter how Ohio State does in the postseason. 2, if MSU misses a bowl game and has another 50th ranked recruiting class next season, they have to fire Smith. It won't happen then either.
It's not, I mean, you don't see the 2-year firings happen like what would just happen with Purdue, where you're
it's got to be a complete shit show.
1-11 and you lose 66-0.
Can I say I thought Purdue, when I just glanced at it on Twitter, I thought they were canceling the program, the football program.
Why?
Because why not? I mean, I feel you're not going to put money into it. You suck. For a split second, I'm saying I looked at the tweet from Purdue football. I was like, oh my God, are they canceling the whole thing? Oh no, they're just firing their coach. Sorry.
If you didn't need football to financially fund other things,
sure,
there'd be an argument for it.
I said at first glance. I didn't say I read it and then I still. Andrew Gauthier, number 1, Dan Hurley has to be one of the least likable coaches in sports right now.
By far.
2, Graham, you can't seriously believe that we don't have a right to complain if we didn't sit in the wind, snow, and 20-degree temps on Saturday. These guys are getting paid now. It's not the same. And 3, Spartan fans deserve some wins without sacrificing their Thanksgiving weekends. We've had an unprecedented run of ass sports moments over the last decade. We spend our hard-earned money and what little free time we have on Spartan athletics. And for the past decade, missing one game doesn't disqualify us from being upset at the direction of the program.
Yeah, look, but if everybody misses one game together, it shows that there seems to be a lack of passion for the place. And that's all. And apathy doesn't win. I didn't say you don't have the right to complain. I said pipe down, I guess. I did say that. I guess
so many people misunderstood this tweet.
Maybe the tweet was, I was trying to pull up
is
the
it the
tweet
people
right
or someone that tweeted it?
Like, how bad was this tweet? Hold on, let me pull this up.
Peacock.
I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, the bright in the hollow.
All right, here we go. Original tweet is, people should do what they want with their time and money. And today is a cold, snowy, windy day, and MSU is 5-6. But, ... if you're going to be on this app or anywhere chirping about your team showing up, you should too. Maybe 15,000 of you did. Everybody else should pipe down.
I was over on Blue Sky just letting it loose.
Yeah, and I actually went down to into the crowd because I couldn't see everybody under me, and that's why I said 25,000 in my column, because it was about 25,000. Yeah, I had to go see it. And if folks want better recruiting class, they got to be willing to pack a stadium better than this. Mm-hmm. I stand by all of that. Now, this is also stemmed from the Purdue game where people were upset that the Michigan State football team didn't show up in the second half, but all the fans also left at halftime. And
they were just telling everybody to bring 2 friends, right?
Well, that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, they're trying to get. No, look, I understand. People are entitled to criticize me for the opinion. I'm entitled to the opinion.
But what momentum do we have going into next season, though,
Zero.
to where you'd want to go to that game and sit outside?
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that you should want to be there, and I'm not saying you should go. I'm saying if you want
so
this
delete
bad,
the tweet is what you're saying.
No, never delete the tweet. Well, I occasionally delete the tweet, but not this tweet.
Delete and post.
Yeah. But if you want this badly enough for MSU, that you want to create an atmosphere that shows the recruits that are there, that shows the players that are there, that are going to have to decide whether they stick around. And some of these guys you desperately want to stick around. You want to create an environment that says you care, and it's been a tough year, and you're in this foxhole together, you show up. That's all I'm saying, if you want this badly enough.
Detroit Spartan, reasonable take. Couch, you were being inflammatory on Saturday, and you knew it. Looking for a reaction and engagement from social media. Now that you've had a couple days to chill out, will you apologize for your takes? I don't think you've had enough pure options in your system. Best take. Give the fans something to cheer for, and we will be there. I'm not going to show up to a cold, windy game to get blown out by Rutgers and miss a bowl game for the third straight year. Fans not going is the only way to voice our opinions, kind of like voting. And bonus, Spartan basketball plus 1,000 to win regular season Big Ten championship is a great bet.
Yeah, that's not a bad bet. Given you start to look at the top of the league and Purdue and Illinois. What I would have to look at is like, I think one of the things you want to do before you place any bet on a team to win a Big Ten title, then that's not a bad long shot value. Is who plays who at home and where. Now that there are 18 teams and you're playing so many of the teams once. Where do you get people? And because schedule will play a bigger role in determining that sort of thing. But yeah, I do agree that's not bad value, and appreciate you bringing our attention to that. I'm not going to apologize. It's not really in my nature, unless I'm wrong. And I don't feel that I was critical, but not unfair
and confusing. apparently,
yeah.
People didn't understand what you were saying, I guess.
Yeah.
Richard Kane next. To those hardy souls who stayed until the end of MSU's 41-14 season-ending loss, the athletic department and football team should send you Christmas cookies, not Groovy Donuts.
There's a question mark. No,
question mark.
This is bad. And again, I try not to be too much of a shill in my writing, but Groovy Donuts is what I'd want. Like if I were at that 41-14 game in the cold till the end, and they're going to send me a box of something
in the stands. Yeah.
I want a box of Groovy Donuts from the MSU athletic department. I think that would only be right. That would be better than Christmas cookies, by the way. And I love Christmas cookies. Don't get me wrong. But yeah.
Iman Sinner, Graham taking heat for his opinions and taking the feedback on the chin is what makes him a great columnist. MSU fans who appreciate him keeping Duke out of the top 25 for not playing a road game can't complain about this column. That being said, oof. Let us lick the wounds first.
That's fair, man. To his point, by the way, Mitch Sturr tweeted at me here, said he would love to hear my take on UConn being in the top 25 still and MSU not being in the top 25 in basketball.
One of your best bits, though, by the way.
But it's also fucking ridiculous. Well, thank you. Yeah. But it's also ridiculous. I mean, this is what, again, the MSU women made the top 25 today. Yeah, and I saw that was tweeted. I'm not going to share that because I don't believe in the top 25 process. I don't believe in the voters. I don't believe it's a thing. I don't believe it's something you should use in your stories without using other polls. And I mention it in the tip-offs, I guess. But like these people they're not ass, but they're just not doing a good job. And UConn, there's no way you could watch UConn 3 days in Maui and think right now that is a top 25 team. And is it just because of brand you want to leave? I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know that Michigan State should be in the top 25. I'd have to look. I'm not doing a poll anymore, a ballot, and I'd have to look at all the teams around them. They played like a top 25 team in a couple games. Does that mean they're one of the top 25 teams? I think they probably will wind up being a top 20 team in this country. That does not mean they should be in. But I'll tell you what, they should be ahead of UConn. A lot of teams should be ahead of UConn right now.
You should put out the couch poll.
This is so much work, man. Is
it?
Yeah, it was.
Slap a top 25.
Well, that's part of the thing. I've said this before. I don't believe you should be voting if you don't have 4 to 8 hours every Sunday. And most people don't. If you have a family, a happy marriage,
and 2 TVs,
any sort of hobbies, this is not for you. But this should be for people who are miserable, who don't do other things. And anybody else should be disqualified.
Yeah. I'm the one. Shep, I sat directly behind Graham in Maui for the North Carolina game. It was hard for me to focus on the game and not be mesmerized watching Couch deftly navigate his weirdly tiny laptop between Twitter, Blue Sky, stat sheets, and the 2 separate quick take columns he was simultaneously writing. It was like watching Picasso paint or Mozart compose. I'm in awe. Bonus, he does actually look a lot like Boris Johnson with a freakishly large ribcage in person.
It's one of the reasons I turn to muskox. And I'm telling you right now, if you have a large rib cage or any other deformity in your upper body, muskox will help you shield that.
It's got a stupid-looking face.
It'll make even the hideous among us look their very best and feel good about themselves. And that's one of the things. Again, go muskox, and the promo code is FixItInPost, all one word, for $15 off for Couch in the Rube.
Do you ever, like, when you're during a game and you're sitting there on your laptop, do you ever think, like, in your head, like, somebody's watching me, like, what I'm doing? Or?
Luckily, I don't really have no. I mean, every once in a while, somebody sends me a photo from up top or something, and I see the bald spot on the top of my head. I'm like, I didn't realize that was quite that large. But
it does suck. Yeah,
it's not great. But
catch that in the ring camera every once in a while. I'm like, God damn it.
I mean, I try and keep my finger out of my nose for that reason, but otherwise, not really.
Some dude, number one, everyone will be acting like a bitch this week, so let's go off the board. I say that Izzo is managing Booker perfectly with the roster that he built that gives him the luxury of being able to do that. Give the man some credit. 2, just give us a road Thanksgiving weekend football game, please. Save a non-conference game for somewhere warm. I'd probably go to it. 3, it's mostly a loud a-hole minority on Twitter. Thankfully, I've muted most of them. Evidence. Daquan Dose posted, "Thank you, Spartan Nation," after the game on Saturday, and had 485 likes in an hour.
Yeah, no, there are lots of good people, and lots of people, and people emotionally react too. And I think if you wait like an hour to tweet, sometimes you get a more reasonable thought.
Just ignore people, though.
Yeah,
like he said, just mute. I don't know. I just don't see some of that shit.
It does help to have the final game of the year be a road game. It makes a big difference, and maybe they should make that so that, and you can't do this perfectly, but UCLA and USC should be hosting Big Ten games on the final game of the season. Always do. You get warm places, road games, places
so I can
like
pay
that.
$5,000 to go watch that shit?
Well, you can watch that one on TV.
Oh, Scott Goen. Number one, if Booker can play consistently with that type of effort and awareness, the Spartans could win the conference. And 2, semi-baked football staff was capable of watching film and scripting 1 to 2 effective series each game. But once the opponent adjusted, we had no counter. Very disappointing.
And my take on that is that's much more talent dependent than coaching dependent. These guys have been around the business a while. They've run offenses different places. They've had success different places. Joe Rossi's been a really good coordinator. Like I tend to think that that's not as indicative of who they are as a staff.
But you're in charge of that talent. So,
but now, right? You've got to go. You've got to go fix the talent. Is what you got to do. Right. Yeah.
Money bag number one. There's not a quarterback in the country who would have looked good behind that disaster of an offensive line at MSU this year. And 2, that's the worst offensive line we've ever had. 3, this offseason is going to give us a lot of answers about how serious our football program is trying to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's I don't know. Serious is such a Yeah, I mean, I think it'll give us a lot of answers about Michigan State's program and where it's going, and what they're able to spend and who they're able to get in. I don't. Again, I don't think it's the next year's like this end all be all year. You're not going to go from like 5-7 and with lots of talent gaps on the roster to easily 10-2 and looking like a contender. That's just unlikely to happen. But this year, there should be some telling signs that things are okay in this offseason.
Jake next. Having a bunch of 3-star players in recruiting doesn't concern me for Jonathan Smith and MSU football. Those are typically the players who stick around and are committed to development. If Smith is going to rebuild like he did at Oregon State, he needs guys who will stick around and develop.
I think one of the columns I'm going to do, because this is an interesting point, is I want to look at some of the early really good players, best players of under Saban, and under D'Antonio especially, and even John L. Smith's guys, and sort of look at what the best of those guys, what stars they were, how it was built initially, their first good teams, and so I can have sort of an educated reaction to the recruiting class. Now, it's just such a different landscape, too. So much of your recruiting class each year, probably a third of it at least, needs to be transfers, right? So that's a little different, maybe more than that. And so I don't know that it's a perfect idea, but I am curious. When you start to look at the stars and the ranking of the class just on the guys they have, and not in terms of total numbers, which brings it down because they don't have a huge class. But I get why people aren't excited by it. There hasn't been some big recruit that they've landed that you go, oh boy, Michigan State landed that guy. And it would help if Michigan as a state had more of those guys. But, Saban came in and, at some point they land the T.J. Ducketts. Now, that was down the road. They land the Charles Rogers. Now, that, again, down the road. But you're talking about guys who are in the top couple players in the country in the state of Michigan. And so, that we'll see. But I do think there needs to be a little more perspective on the recruiting done and work done to sort of be able to evaluate that group.
Jared Goff, MVP next. Fans aren't required to cheer on a shit-ass product with a lame-ass coach and players who don't compete. Sorry, Graham. And bonus, Caleb Williams is getting bailed out by Eberflus. That was 100% on him to call a timeout or hurry up a play.
There's no doubt he could have done that and should have done that. But he's also a rookie quarterback, so...
No, I mean, I can see where you could blame Caleb Williams, but I mean, as a whole, Eberflus is a penis.
And he should be able to call the timeout, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it.
You got to help your rookie quarterback out.
Yep.
Right. Sparty Ben, Couch, I love the show and most of your articles. That's a good one. Most of your articles, but your comments during the MSU game about the fans were absolutely asinine. I've been at every home game for 10-plus years, and I was at the game and stayed until the band took the field after the game. But blaming fans for the team's lack of wins is insane. And saying the team is not being good makes you happy because there isn't more national media around the team is absolutely ridiculous.
So this is exaggerating my points. I did not say that I'm not blaming the fans for the team's lack of wins.
It would have been easier if you did, though.
I should have just said that. This is on you.
Full bore.
This is fucking on you guys. This is it. Everything. And no, I'm not going to do that, obviously.
Send.
And I will never apologize for not enjoying when national media is not around. There is nothing. There are some national.
Except Scott Docterman.
Well, yeah, and they're Pat 40. There are lots of guys I like. There are lots of national media Brendan Quinn still comes on here, a reluctant national writer himself. Mm-hmm. Technically, our friend Nick Baumgartner's a national writer. Lots of national writers I like.
Keep naming guys, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
But
let's go to 4.
There's also a lot of waddling and backslapping and just unnecessariness that exists in that community, and they just take up space.
Eric Larson had Graham just waited 2 or 3 days, then tweet. Wouldn't have sent MSU fans trying to digest another mediocre football team into a lynch mob. Well, Graham is Graham. And bonus, covering consistently lousy team is a bad business model for readership. People would rather read about winners.
Yeah, to some degree. People read angry. But, yeah, the thing that sucks about losing seasons or seasons that go off the rails where people stop caring about that particular team is they only want one sort of thing. They want, how do you fix it? People stop reading and having any interest in the big feature. And that sucks because you don't get to tell these stories as much of guys because people just don't want them. And so that does – there's no doubt. The better Michigan State football is, the better it is for our readership. And, it helps us tremendously that basketball is what it is in terms of interest, and hockey has a pretty good following, and there's some other stuff. But there's no doubt. There's no doubt winning football overall and the interest that's in that is good for business. I mean, the Rose Bowl year, we did special sections. We did 3.
Graham bought a Lexus off that.
Every freaking day there was we'd get called in and we had a new special section we were going to be doing on this date for this. And they need 4 different columns on this. And it was fine. It was 1985 in print journalism again in 2013. We just couldn't sell enough.
You didn't let out a deep sigh when your editor was like, oh, we got a new thing. I'm sure you were all like, oh, fantastic. I can't wait.
Well, we knew it was good for us.
Or you were like,
we knew it was good for us. Now it's,
I got to go to Maui.
It'd be great if they put that in the staffing everywhere, but we knew it was good for business.
Dang it, Bobby. Number 1, the North Carolina win saved our sanity. The next 5 are winnable. 2, Haller needs to unite our people on the NIL front, or there's no hope for football. 3, that football season was a terrible experience. No more fun the last 2.
Yeah, that's right there, though. Dang it, Bobby. I mean, that's – I didn't mean that like dang it, Bobby. I'm just saying your name. But that football season was a terrible experience. I think people feel that way. And when something is a terrible experience, you got to fix it. And that is the prevailing thing that Alan Haller needs to understand, and I think he does. I saw him up in the press box walking by himself. I think he's very aware of how people feel right now. I think he's not happy. But people need to understand that was a terrible experience. You can't have a lot of terrible experiences in a row, and they've had a few in a row now. And Jonathan Smith can't keep having them where people just really lose hope and lose the fun and lose the passion for something. And the fact that this has coincided with Michigan's rise and all this fun elsewhere in football with the playoff talks and Indiana having this year, it's just made it worse too.
Spartan 18770 next. In the new world order of college football and the transfer portal, a coach of a Power 5 has no more than 3 years to turn a program around. The days of a 5-year rebuild have gone by the way of a fifth-year senior playing their entire career at one school.
Yeah, they don't have as much time. There's no question about that. I don't know how much time, because the other thing you're not going to see this year, and this is interesting, this is a point to understand. Like, how many openings, how many firings have you seen in college football so far? Almost none. Almost none. Very few openings. And the
Mac Brown, that was the only one.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
You know why? Because schools cannot afford these buyouts anymore now that they've got to pay $22 million out of their athletic department starting next year. These coaches, they're going to have now. Contracts can be written differently. You're not going to have these buyouts. But right now, the coaches who are there all have them.
Right. There's so many guys wrapped up in 12-year deals that it's going to take you a while.
Michigan State is, no matter what happens with Jonathan Smith, unless he does something Mel Tucker-ish, that.
Oh, God.
But what I'm saying is they're not going to get rid of him with a lot of years left on that contract, because that would just financially be a real problem. They'd have to cut a sport to do that.
Ethan Charmella, running back may be MSU's biggest need in the portal outside of either line. Didn't realize Nate Carter was out the door with K-Ron. Bonus, I don't think as much as roster attrition occurs as some think. Childs, Marsh, Velling, etc. seem to want to be Spartans and hold the room together.
Yeah, there's no evidence right now that Aiden Childs or Nick Marsh or anybody wants to leave, that those two guys being the key guys, right? And
but like you said in your column, though, as long as Childs is there,
and Marsh,
guys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but right, I mean, because guys like Marsh are going to want to sit there and play with a guy like Childs that can fling me that ball.
Correct. So here's the thing: Aiden Childs throws some interceptions, and that's not great for winning. But what doesn't hurt you, if you're a receiver trying to make it in the NFL, one of the things you do is you don't want to play with Will Howard. Now, I'm not saying Will Howard's awful quarterback, but he doesn't help you. Like, you want a guy who can make all the throws. It really lets you show off what you can do, and I think Michigan State can sell that to somebody. This if you're at Michigan State, you get to play with a guy who has a NFL arm and can make those throws, and there are advantages to that. That said, the season has just ended. You never know. 2 weeks from now, somebody gets in the right person's ear, and there's a lot of money thrown around what somebody may think. But so far, Childs and Marsh seem to be pretty committed.
Tim Garvey next. Doesn't seem fair to the MSU seniors to have senior day on any weekend when the student body is on a break.
Yeah, it's ass. I mean, frankly, the fact that the season's built like this, so automatically it's tougher to get a good crowd because the student body isn't there. And if I was paying for student season tickets, I'd be annoyed by that. And having this weekend be home weekend is never great. That's absolutely fair. And then the fact that college football is an in-person experience is turned more and more to ass. And the fact that it's colder and dirt. I mean, it wasn't going to be pleasant out there. My mom and sister went to the game. My sister was home for Thanksgiving. My mom and sister went. They made it to halftime. And,
did you call them half-ass fans?
I did not.
They left at halftime?
I'd never even anybody who went. I was a little surprised, but they said it was
you, Mom.
It was cold, and my mom might have. It would have been interesting to see if my sister wasn't there. My sister was like, enough of this shit. But my mom tries to stick that stuff out.
Ryan Rockwell, Graham, I love you, man, but the take about the fans not showing up to watch a 5-6 football team get blown out is ass. Unless Muskox is handing out flannels, why go to be disappointed and frozen after the first drive? Plus, NIL means more to recruits than fans and seats in late November.
There's a bonus there?
Bonus. At least the MSU football season over-under of 5+ wins was a push that I turned into a winning plus 162 NFL parlay.
There you go. Yeah, if you got the season wins total at 5, you're fine. At least you get your money back.
Wait, that was a leg of one of your NFL parlays?
Either that or he took the money that came back and turned it into a parlay or something like that. I think that.
I got you.
I will say that we were right on the over, even if just slightly, because they pushed despite Illinois being way better than Vegas expected, Indiana being way better than Vegas expected, Rutgers being better than Vegas expected. Like Michigan State missed it by a game, losing to teams that were considerably better than anybody expected. And so the right play, if you had the under on Michigan State and you still pushed, you had it wrong. You just got lucky.
Yeah, but I said hammer it, though, at 4.5.
You did say-
it did hit, but
well,
it didn't.
4.5 hit, yeah.
I understand, but when you say hammer, it means it's going to happen easily in 7 games.
I had Iowa this week, and I was sweating it out. Like, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, my God, I just need Iowa to freaking...
Hey, that's Kirk Ferentz for you. He's going to make you sweat it out. Matt, Graham blaming fans is absurd. Let's not talk about the AD, coaching, players, recruiting. No, let's hit the low-hanging fruit. The fans for not sitting in ass weather with a garbage team that has a recruiting ranking of 59. Pistons fans, it's on you that they are ass, according to Graham.
Pro sports a little different, and I understand there's a pro element to this now because it's all on contracts and signing guys and salary caps. And if the situation in college football gets to the point where it's that financial and everything's transactional in that way, and it's all
I just think it goes for anything for a guy like my age. It's just like, do I want to sit there and spend 5 hours? No, I understand that, but I'm just saying I can understand that people don't want to do it. For any sport. Fart soup number 1, people should do what they want with their time and money, but if you're going to be on Twitter or anywhere chirping about your team showing up, you should too. Oh shit, wait, that was verbatim Couch firing off unhinged tweets from the luxury of a heated press box. And bonus, this MSU team is ass, and everyone knows it. Not Purdue ass, not UCLA ass, but ass nonetheless. And now we have to sit through an entire offseason of every SEC team trying to poach Childs, Marsh, etc.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully for MSU, those guys commit pretty quick, and I think they. There's no. If you're Childs, you've got a good situation at Michigan State. As long as, and you got a coach you're comfortable with, a system you're comfortable with, and you're hoping to have a big year and be on NFL radars next year.
Until some billionaire comes in and goes, hey, man, you want $9 million to come play?
Yeah.
Ohio State. Original Dark Mantonio, I believe MSU and Michigan men's basketball will both be pretty good this year, but the women's teams for both schools could end up better than the men's.
It's possible. The women's basketball team, I mean, they had a really nice showing in Palm Desert, and they, otherwise have not played a very difficult schedule, so it's been hard to judge, but they look good. They're certainly fun to watch. I think they got a really good coach, and both teams are in that top 25 that I don't think much of.
David Jackson, when guys deliberately pick up 15-yard penalties, making snow angels after scoring in the first 3 minutes to go up 6-0, that sent the message to coaches, teammates, and fans that we're not a serious program, and don't care about winning. I knew that then we had no shot.
Look, the Snow Angels should not be a 15-yard penalty. When did Snow Angels? Why is Snow Angels a 15-yard penalty?
Classless.
Yeah, I mean,
it's right up there with playing a flag. Yeah, I know.
I mean that you talk about taking the fun out. The Snow Angels should be one of the fun. You're not taunting anybody. You're making a Snow Angel. It's like the most innocent thing in the world is a Snow Angel.
It's not you made like a snowball and threw it at a ref or something.
Yeah, it's not like you. Yeah,
People are so uptight.
I do not understand how that's a penalty. That needs to be fixed tomorrow.
Lucas, number 1, he gets one more full year. If we miss a bowl game again, he should be fired. 2, Solari's press pass should be revoked. And 3, this sucks.
Solari did nothing wrong. He tweeted what was said, and he gave it some context. And I'll be honest, the part about acting like he was kidding, and we're talking about Aiden Childs saying he didn't care about the fans anymore, was very hard to determine. It was under his breath. He said what he said, and he said it in a press conference setting, and there was a little more. Solari is fine here. It's fine. I'm not
just here. In this instance,
he's always welcome here. Yeah, I'll protect Solari with my muskox any day of the year. He's just not going to be fired in terms of
Solari,
not Solari, Jonathan Smith.
Oh,
because Michigan State's not going to pay out the final 5 years of a deal, and I don't think. Like, where would MSU go from there? A guy who's a proven coach somewhere else? Like, yeah, I mean, Jesus.
JH710. MSU basketball has a lot on its plate. Spartan fans deserve to be happy, and it rests in the hands of Izzo. Also, after seeing Hurley act like a pathetic child, no one is more deserving to miss the tournament than him. Izzo needs number 2, and bad. Spartan fans need it.
They could use, I mean, there was a time where it was like just one thing that it was college football playoff, Big Ten championships, and then in basketball it was like number 1 seeds, number 2 seeds, Final Fours, a lot of stuff, and it was all at once. And now that I'm 100% with you. They need something.
Sam the Man, good thing MSU is a basketball school because it was another disappointing football season. You think the team quit to some extent after the Michigan game? I just don't see how you definitively beat a good Iowa team, compete with Michigan, and then get destroyed the rest of the way.
I think the back end, the injuries to the back end really hurt them the same way they did, a couple years ago. I think that had more to do with it than anything else. What was weird is how good the offensive line was for a minute and then wasn't. And when you talk to people about that, they said some adjustments were made, and then it became much more about teams realized what MSU was doing, and then it became much more could you get it done, and they couldn't. But I don't think there was quit in this team. I didn't sense that. Because they were good early in games. They just didn't have enough. There was no no-show. I mean, they went up 24-3 against Purdue. It didn't have that quit feel to a season.
Alex Mayer, number one, I refuse to make any judgments on this staff and the program until this time next season. I want to give them an entire cycle of recruiting, developing, and planning before rushing to any conclusions. And two, #hockey school.
Yeah, MSU hockey at least ranked number one. So there's that. I mean, I know some people aren't into hockey, but if you can find, hockey was a refuge for a long time, and lean in right now. That would be what I would say.
Dan Gray, if MSU Athletics needs someone to control the NIL payouts, they paid Childs $1.5 million for 5 wins. They paid Job $600K for 2 seasons on the bench. How much have they paid Booker for limited returns?
This is a hard thing to deal with, though. You got to pay what the market is for a quarterback, right? You have to do that, and you're gonna have to pay for guys in recruiting, and you'd like to be in a situation where you didn't wind up paying, especially in football, players who just don't see the field, and you have to. They paid Blackstock, the offensive lineman, a fair bit. Like that stuff. I think that was part of the frustration with the guys running the collective, right? When they pulled the money away, and that's a tough situation. That's the system itself doesn't work. It's messed up. It doesn't really work right now. And you got to get to a point where that's not how it is. But right now it is. And if you want to compete for the talent, which sometimes does pan out, then you have to pay these guys. Let's move down. We're going to get back to everybody. We'll finish these up in our midweek show. I want to get a few of the regulars in here at the end. Let's go down to. If you go down to, we'll get Hans and Jake and Upper Deck Jerk Guy and wrap it up. We do have a hard out, so Eblings can get in the studio here.
Hans Jurgen, number one, Graham and Aiden, if you fight with the fans, you will end up sitting with them. They are your customers. 2, if we finish year 2 of the Smith era the same way we finished year 1, that will be time to panic. 60 new players, this will always be going to be a lost season. And bonus, all the Big Ten post-game fights involve go blow. No, where is the rest of this?
None of the other? Can you not see it?
Yeah, I did something here. Hold on, sorry. Hans Jurgen. All the Big Ten post-game fights involve go blow. None of the other Big Ten teams fight amongst each other. Just when they play go blow, they play with no respect or class.
Who is Aiden? If you fight with the fans, Graham and Aiden.
Aiden.
Oh, Childs.
Yeah.
Sorry, how did I not
Aiden
know that?
Mahomes.
I thought it was Aiden Hutchinson or Aiden from Sex and the City, maybe. Look, I'm not fighting with fans. I'm having an opinion, and I love our listeners and our fans, and I don't mind them, coming back at me either. It's all fair.
Jake Hawkins, number one, such bullshit that MSU football has sunk once again to the level it is after experiencing some big-time success 10-some-odd years ago. 3 years without a bowl game is completely unacceptable for a school and program that is a top 25 in attendance and revenue when it comes to football. And 2, while I do believe that you that Jonathan Smith wants to be here at MSU and can make it work, can't help but think what we would look like if Mike Elko was hired. He was who I wanted, even over the pipe dream of Urban Meyer. I really hope Smith and company are coming up with good things for MSU. And bonus, while on my way to Northport for Thanksgiving last Wednesday, I got some lunch from Burger King in the drive-thru and got asked if I wanted one of those paper crowns. Me, a 38-year-old man, got offered something for kids. Funny and awkward moment.
Did you take the crown, Jake? I would have taken the crown if they offered you. Was it the Cadillac Burger King? I love the Cadillac.
Did you just hand your card to them and they go, hey, would you like a crown? Or did you say something maybe that was funny and they're like, oh, this guy's kind of fun?
Yeah, it's interesting that they would look
I need
at
to
you.
know the follow-up.
Yeah, we need to know a story worth telling presented by Midtown Brewing Company.
It's a great one, by the way.
Downtown Lansing, if for anybody who's looking for a cozy, spacious environment with an excellent menu and a great date night spot.
Graham
this
always
December.
turns down the Crown, though. Yeah. Upper Deck Jerk Guy, sensible. Thank God social media wasn't around when Izzo was first hired. People would have thrown a fit. Best, gambling will ruin college sports as quick as NIL, as players now receive threats because some idiot lost money. And Baked, crabs probably think that fish can fly.
That is a pure options take if I've ever seen one. The
gambling one?
No, crabs. Thank God social media wasn't around when Izzo was hired. People would have thrown a fit. There's no doubt that to see social media about Izzo in like December of '97 would have been the number of old takes exposed that would have come out because people would have wanted him. People would have wanted him fried. We appreciate all of you, and I appreciate all of you who agree with me, who disagree with me, and everything. We appreciate you producing our show and continuing to listen, and for me, continuing to read. Those of you whose hot takes we didn't get to, we will get to those. There's some really good stuff still to talk about. We'll get into those during our midweek show as well. We appreciate Muskox. Go to gomuskox.com. Fix it in post is the promo code, all one word, for $15 off your flannel purchase. We appreciate Pure Options. If you're not stoned at this point, got to help you. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.